Welcome back to my video diary, and what a way to start it off. Back on Stone Acres in Oxfordshire, got this cracking £32 11 ounce common. Caught at range again, about 140 yards, milky toffee pop up, hinged rig, over some new Grange boilies, doing the business. So we've got all the pictures done now, get this fish back, it's getting dark, hopefully get this rod back out before dark, see if we can catch another one. Well, after having that £32 common last week, everything just turned into a bit of a nightmare really. Started getting loads of tench, the wind turned direction a little bit, hit me in the face a bit more, just made it really difficult trying to get that rod back out there. And to be honest, I pretty much thrashed it to a foam. I think I would have been better off going onto a trout lake and doing a bit of fly fishing, the amount of casts I was having to make. But I finally got them out there and I was fishing again, but like I say, just kept picking up tench. Come back onto Stonies again this week, and everything sort of changed this week. The fish have been showing over the last few weeks in the same sort of area. So when I turned up and the birches was free, the swim that I've had the last two fish out of, I just went back in there, put my bivvy up. It was pouring down with rain. I was glad to get the bivvy up. Just went down to have a chat to somebody else a bit further down the bank, saw a fish, another fish, another fish. I'd just seen a massive show out at range again, just off the island. And that was that. I just had to go down, get the bivvy all packed down again, get round to that swim, a swim called the Chow Mein. With the amount of shows that I saw, I thought, well, I'm just going to put singles out for the night and block up and use the boat tomorrow. Just give it like the first sort of 24 hours just with singles out there, minimal disturbance. Tried that, didn't pick up any fish. Did see a couple more fish, but not so many shows. And then the next day, went out there, found some spots and got fishing really nicely. But a bit too late, the fish moved again. Woke up in the morning and seen the fish on the end of a warm southwesterly wind. It's probably the first warm, proper nice warm wind that we've had on the lake so far this year, and the fish got on it big time. So the sharp contrast to fishing the Chow Mein, where I was fishing at 150 yards, I'm now fishing 30 to 40 yards in one of the corner swims on the end of the wind, a swim called the Dogs. Seen a few fish here. I've gone down to 3 rods as well now. This isn't a situation where you want to fill your swim with lines. It's just going to put the fish off. And I've seen plenty of fish here, but they're obviously feeding on the naturals. They just sort of seem to be playing around and not too interested in anything. But got the rods out quite nicely. I'm happy sat here in this corner. I'd rather have fish on me that are just playing around than not have any fish here at all. And like I say, a bit different. It's nice to be fishing back in the edge again. Gone back to the fluorocarbon 15-pound Illusion main line rather than the low diameter Aquos that I was using for distance casting. Slack lines, light bobbins, a bit more my style of fishing, what I enjoy a bit more. I've not gone out in the boat. I'm close enough to the bank that I've been able to lead around. As long as I get a drop on my rig, I'm happy that it's fishing on the hinge rigs. I'm just cat about with some baits over the top. So got one night left now tonight, so hopefully it will do a fish. Well, I was saying that the conditions were good. Been a few fish showing in front of me, and I did think they were just playing around. But I've not really seen too many fish today. I did think, well, it could be a good sign. Maybe they're down on the bottom now, having a feed. And I just sat there, middle rod, absolutely screamed off. I've hit it, and it's just kept going and going and going. I thought I was going to be in a bit of trouble, felt it in a bit of weed, but managed to land this one for the bank. Because I'm fishing in so close, I think that's going to be a major edge. I've not done too much to spook a swim, got the rods back out there, so you never know, we might be in for another one. But for now, I just put this one back. Another 30. 33 pounds, 4 ounces. Absolutely made up. Felt like I was fishing well this session. Feel like I've got me just desserts. Well, here we go. Now for the best bit. Letting one of these Stone Acre warriors swim off back out into the pit. Well, back on Stonies this week. After landing that 33 last week from the bank, I was hoping for another fish, but it wasn't to be. Come back on this week, fish down at that end of the lake again. Did see a few fish, but the fish seemed to have moved back up into the middle of the lake again, out at range, and I've come into the swim that I was hoping to get a fish from last week, the chow mein. For my last night of the session actually. Woke up this morning, going to get ready to pack away, and one's just peeled away, and it's this little fella. Nice looking stoneacre mirror, one of the male fish. You see he's colouring up, ready for spawning. 24 pounds, 2 ounces, on hinge rig again, 140 yards, just over some weed that's starting to come up on the silty area. So at least we've had one from the last morning. Going to get back to Cornwall happy. Well, I come back on Stoneacres this week. Really good weather for it. There's a lot of fish been coming out. Sean Gately down in the disabled swim, absolutely clumping them. Had a good run of fish today and yesterday, and I've managed to get in a swim behind my good mate Adam, who's had a couple, and I've managed a couple myself. 20-pound fish earlier on today, but now I've had this absolute lump. 41 pounds, 3 ounces on the new Grange. Well happy with this one. We've got all our pictures done. We'll get it back. I think I might have to have a takeaway or something tonight. Here we go. Just slip it back. Just let it get its breath. Whee! Nice chunk sliding down the margins. Well, welcome back to my video diary. I was hoping to do a bit of a recap on what's been going on over the last few weeks, but before I could, this fella's popped up. 32 pounds, lovely looking common, put up a good fight. I caught it right out the edge. Had a 28-pound fish as well last night, right in the edge, only a couple of feet out from the bank. Got some cracking shots done now, so what I'll do is just slip this fish back. I'll set up a tripod and everything, and just give you a quick recap about how it's been going here on Stoneacre. Okay, time for a bit of a recap now. I had that 41-pound mirror a little while ago, and just not long after that the fish started spawning. There's no rules about whether you can fish or not fish, or any closed season or anything on Stoneacre, but personally when fish spawn I just like to leave the lake go for a couple of weeks, let them get it all over and done with, sort of have a bit of a recovery period before you come back onto the lake. So I came back on last week, and found quite a few fish, quite active fish showing down at the far end of the lake, and went into a swim called Shelley's I've done quite well out of last year. Really fancied my chances with the fish being as active as they were, but something just wasn't quite right. The fish weren't really getting into the swim, and you know, I just put it down to the fish still being a little bit moody after spawning, so baited up my spots. And went back into there again this week, but again the fish were kind of staying clear of the area, and whether or not they're just not quite happy to get back into that swim really confidently after sort of being clumped there a little bit last year, I don't know. But yesterday I just decided that I wanted to get away from that end of the lake, find a little bit of peace and quiet as well, to be honest with you. It was pretty busy down that end of the lake this week. The fish still showing and still quite active. So got up to the other end of the lake, climbed a few trees and found a few fish right in the edge, in one of the little corners. So I've come into a little corner swim called the number 1, and literally just sort of waded in and placed my rigs around the margins, with a little New Grange white pop up, and just a handful of broken boilies, because the fish that I was seeing going around the margins, not once did I see a fish drop onto the bottom and feed. They were just slowly cruising around the margins. So carried on using a white pop-up just because I wanted any fish patrolling the margin, I wanted something to draw their attention, to get them down just to those few crumbled boilies on the bottom. And around about 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, the plan worked. A rod that's just around us, literally only a couple of rod lengths away from the side of the bivvy, just around the corner here, went off with a take last night. Really funny take. Did-a-dee, 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 did-a-dee. At first I thought it was a tench, but it was actually a good sized linear that just didn't know what hit it. I just don't think it quite clicked that it had been hooked. It was just sat on the spot, boiling and just trying to get rid of my rig. It didn't work. I netted that fish. I told you earlier on that it was a 28-pound fish. I don't know why. The fish was actually 29 pound, 12 ounces. Real nice, pretty linear. Photographed that one last night. It was a bit too dark to do any filming. Got that rod back on the spot, and then it went again today with that 32-pound common. Cracking fish. You know, it's really paid off getting up into this end of the lake, into this quiet corner. I'm trying to keep things as quiet as I can. I've got the brolly set back as sort of far as I can. I've got it on one of the lower settings just to keep everything low profile. I'm doing my cooking down the bank behind the bushes, and you know, but it's paying off. I've had a couple of fish, and I'm still seeing fish sort of cruising into the area. So all the rods are set for tonight, last night of the session for this week. So hopefully might get another fish. Well, yesterday afternoon, after getting that 32-pounder back and getting all the rods sorted again, I went back round, climbed the trees, and I was seeing fish still drifting into this corner of the lake, following the margins. Fish looked really happy to be here, so I was really happy with my tactics. Slackline fishing with fluorocarbon mainline, the Illusion XS in 15 pounds. It sinks like a stone and it just follows the contours of the bottom. Out the way of the carp, and they're not going to spook off the lines, and that was like clearly evident yesterday. When I was up the tree, the fish were just really happy to be in the area. It didn't spook once, just drifting in and drifting out, and I was really confident for another take. But then unfortunately the conditions changed. The bit of sunshine that was warming this sort of calm area on the back of the wind got blocked out by a load of low cloud that's moved in on a big wind, and I suspect the fish have actually followed that wind now down to the other end of the lake. I've climbed the trees this morning, I've not seen any fish this morning, so I don't really think there's a chance of another fish, but I can't complain about a couple of cracking fish. Things seem to be going really well as well at the moment here on Stony. Hopefully one of the two big fish won't be too far away, but all I'm going to do now is just give these rods a sort of hopeful half an hour before packing away, driving back to Cornwall, and I'll get back on here again next week, and I'll catch up with you again for another episode of Kneebones Diary.